When you really sit there and think of the most well-rounded NBA players we have ever seen, Paul George needs to be somewhere near the top of your list. And before you say anything in the comments talking about some, man, Paul George is ass, listen, I am not talking about 76ers washed Paul George, all right? I know he hasn't been too good. I'm talking about prime Paul George, the one that was pulling from 35 feet, doing 360 dunks a game, cooking everyone off the dribble at, 6'8", 6'9", which, by the way, I don't think we have ever seen someone with as smooth of a handle at his size. I know that sounds a little glazed, but hey, just watch the tape. Like, he was moving different. But even, on top of all of that, he was also locking up your best player 1 through 4. Like, this dude was genuinely a cheat code. And I still got respect for him. He was one of my favorite players growing up, so we got to make his build in today's video. Now, to start this build off, you guys are going to want to make it either a shooting guard or a small forward. It doesn't really matter. They get the same weight options and everything, so pick whatever position you prefer. Then you are going to go with 6'8", 186 pounds. Yes, I know it is a little bit light for Paul George, but we're still playing 2K at the end of the day. We got to make the build, in the best way it can possibly be. And then for the wingspan, we are going with a 7 foot. This is very important because if you go more than a 7 foot, you aren't going to be able to get everything you need. Starting us off with the finishing attributes, y'all are going to want to go with a 70 close shots, 80 driving layup, and then an 88 dunk. The thought process here is that the 80 layup is going to give us some of the best packages in the game, like Zion Williamson. That's actually only at 70, but aside from that, we have Julius Randle as well, which has one of the best hop steps, and we get the LaMelo Ball floater. So we have pretty much all of the best layup animations in the game. And in my opinion, to make a Paul George build, you need to be able to score at every single level. I mean, that is a huge part of his game. He can shoot the three, shoots the midi, drives in well. There's nothing he really can't do. As for the reason we went with an 88 dunk instead of something like an 87 to later cap rate get to 89 and get, all the pro contacts, basically, I'm trying to leave the door open for if you want gold posterizer down the road. Because if you put +5 on this, you get 93 dunk, you get gold posterizer. And if you start at 87, that obviously is not a possibility because putting +5 would only get you to 92 and you would miss it by 1. So I guess if you absolutely do not care about gold posterizer at all and you just, whatever, throw it in the trash, you could go with an 87 dunk. But me personally, I think it's nice to, have that potential and that opportunity to get it down the road. Standing dunk, we aren't going to touch at all. And then post control, we are going to throw to 45 just because it was going to get forced up by some other stuff anyway. And I guess you unlock some decent post go-tos if you're into that. You get like Kobe at 40 and so on and so forth. After the finishing though, here is where we spice up the build a little bit. For the mid-range shot, we are going with an 85. The thought process here is that we can +2 cap rate this to get silver shifty shooter, and then later on we can +4 cap rate it to get gold set shot specialist, which, as you guys know, you could put, a +1 on your set shot, get that to Hall of Fame, and then put your +2 on shifty, get that to Hall of Fame as well. Or if you have shooting specialization, legend set shot, Hall of Fame shifty, you guys get it. You can basically score from every single level. Then for the 3-point shot, I am going with an 80. Unfortunately, I was not able to finesse an 83 on this build for Bronze Limitless, which, by the way, Bronze Limitless is very good value this year, but we do still have cap breakers. We can cap break it down the road, so it's not the biggest deal in the world, and, we can still definitely hit the 3 pretty well. Then for the free throw, I went with an 86. I play a lot of 5v5s. I like to knock these down. If you are more of a park player, feel free to lower it. Moving on to the playmaking, I went with an 84 pass accuracy. I feel like it is very good value because you get gold versatile visionary, you get silver break starter, gold dimer, and more importantly, you get the Cade Cunningham pass style, which in my opinion is the best in the game. All right, I've used a couple. I've used LaMelo. I've used some other ones. Cade is absolutely amazing. You throw dots down the court. I mean, the strong side pass, absolutely amazing. Great for driving and kicking. It's just nice to have it. Now, that pass style is technically only at 82, so you could go with that. I just think, 84 for the gold versatile is the better play. Now, for ball handle and speed with ball, I went with something kind of interesting. I went with an 80 ball handle and then a 70 speed with ball. The main reason is you can cap break speed with ball to a 75 with 1 cap breaker at 6'8", and then ball handle from 80 to 86 is 2 cap breakers. So that is the thought process there. So in total, it's 3 cap breakers to fully max out our playmaking. And then I guess later down the road, if you really want to, you could cap break Speed with Ball again to then get Blur. Although I don't use Blur, I use Jet, so I don't really need it. But Blur Takeover is nothing to be slept on. Finally, moving on to the defense though, here's where we had to get a little bit unrealistic with the build because I think PG's defense would be slightly better. But we ended up going with a 60 interior defense, an 85 perimeter. That way, we get Silver Ombo Menace, Silver Challenger, Bronze Immovable, and whatnot. A 75 steal. Yes, I know you only need 73 for Silver Interceptor, but 2K Toots did a test where if you leave some attributes at 75, sometimes you get, access to better animations, so I kind of follow that rule. And then block, sort of the same thing. I went with a 75. You only actually need a 74 for the Bronze Paint Patroller, but 75 just to, maybe unlock some better block animations. But either way, the defense, it's still very, very solid. I just think, if we had every cap breaker in the game, which I probably won't get, I play a decent amount, but not that much. Like if you had everything, you could go 87 perim and then cap break this +5, you get 92. That would be perfect in my opinion, but we got to work with what we got. 85, definitely nothing to scoff at. After the defense though, we are definitely not booty on the boards by any means. We have a 75 O board and an 80 D board as well. That gives us things like Silver Rebound Chaser, Silver Box Out Beast, and we can reliably snag with this build. Now, am I saying you're going to be snagging over bigs? Probably not, but if you get good positioning, you will secure the board, or, you can box a big out and then have your power forward or center scoop it up, if you're playing 5s. Anyways, though, moving on to the physicals, we went with an 84 speed and then an 83 agility, followed by, a 73 strength and an 80 vertical. Okay, I was a little bit confused as to why it stopped at a 74, but I ended up forgetting to lower my speed with ball back to a 70. But either way, this is the build you end up with right here. Very, very solid overall. If you're curious as to what name you get, it is a 2-way mid-paint cleaner. And by the way, if you don't like that name for whatever reason, when you do cap break your speed with ball to a 75, you get a 2-way midi slashing cleaner, which in my opinion sounds a lot better. Which, speaking of those cap breakers, let me quickly show you guys the cap breaker screen and everything that I spent my cap breakers on. So as you can see, I put my, specialization ones +1 into dunk and then +1 into agility. That way we get the Caruso motion style. Then I put, +2 into ball handle to get it to 86. Then +1 into speed with ball to get it to 75. And then +3 into mid-range to get it to 88. Obviously, when I, get one more cap breaker, it'll go here. That way we get gold set shots. And yeah, that is basically the cap breaker screen. Now, I will say this, if you do really want blur, I didn't peep this until now, you're going to want to go with a 71 speed with ball off rip. That way, this only takes 2 cap breakers instead of 3. So just keep that in mind. I wasn't going to, I didn't care about blur anyway. I wanted jet. I like to use, the Gatorade takeovers. I think they are stupidly good, but I get it. Blur is also amazing as well. And also, to quickly show my max +1s and max +2s, here is what I am currently using on this build. Obviously, we have our max +1s on Shifty Shooter and Paint Patroller since, it is a tier 2 on a 6.8. Then we have Set Shot and Lightning Launch. Lightning Launch, I probably shouldn't be using over Paint Patroller because Golden Hall of Fame, it's not a big difference, but I mean, it's a tier 2. Who really cares at the end of the day? Then I'm using Posterizer and Unpluckable. Honestly, Unpluckable in this game, pretty useless, so, you could change this to Physical Finish is probably going to be better. But either way, that is pretty much, the badge tiering that I'm using. But keep in mind, you can change certain things out for other things like Set Shot. Maybe, you're shooting good already, you don't need it. You could go with like Interceptor, get that to Hall of Fame. That'll be a good choice as well. And you know what? Matter of fact, I actually forgot we got this crew +1, so I just slapped it on a High Flying Denier real quick. I think that's a pretty good extra badge to have. Now, with all that being said, I know some of you guys don't have any cap breakers yet in 2K. Maybe you just got the game, and I wanted to quickly show a different version of the build for if you want to play right away and you don't have any caps. The only thing this build really loses out on is the 80 driving layup. Other than that, you have pretty much everything the first one has. Yes, the ball handle, you're only going to be at an 80 off rip as opposed to an 86 because you don't have caps. But down the road, I mean, it's literally 2 cap breakers. It's not the end of the world. You can definitely earn those pretty quick, join a crew. whatever you have to do. I just could not justify going to 86 ball handle because you lose too many other attributes. And I wanted to get, the silver shifty on this version, the 84 agility for Caruso motion style, still keep the rebound pretty good, keep the defense, similar. Yeah, like I said, only thing you really lose, layup, kind of, not the end of the world though. You still get, a Zion layup package. You still have some good things to work with. That being said though, boys, that is pretty much going to be everything that I have for today's video. If you guys did end up enjoying it, I would greatly appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel, as well as let a like and a comment letting me know what you thought. Ace Van Gravely, peace.